Welcome to the Climax Academy Live. I'm Jim Miller, the Global Training Manager. During these live streams that we've been putting on, a lot of people have been asking a lot of great questions about various topics. And there's been a lot of interest in, how do I start a line boring business? So today, we're going to be looking at things to consider when starting that business. It's been questions that over the years that I've been asked and different trainers have been asked, and we've kind of documented. And so it's kind of a good few things to at least consider before you commit or jump into a line boring business. So while we're going through the presentation, if there's any additional questions that you have about this subject or others, go ahead and go to the bottom of your screen to that Zoom Q&A and type those in. And if we can't get to them at the end of this session, then we'll definitely have another session on that subject, or we'll contact you directly and answer that question if it's something that you need to answer for right away. So good input. All right, so as always, I like to talk a little bit about safety first. I always want to do a risk assessment of the area that I'm going to be working in. I want to carefully look around and make sure that there's no hazards, no trip hazards. I want to watch out for any cords or things other things that I might trip on. When I make any adjustments to a machine that we're going to be running, well, of course we're not running a machine today, but I always want to be aware of that I'm clear of anything that might catch me or anything that's around us. I want to be real conscious of any sharp objects, chips, cutting tools, any kind of pinch hazards, any of those things that I might run into. So once I've done that risk assessment and I'm comfortable with my surroundings, then we're ready to get going. So again, while we're covering this subject today, if you have any questions, go ahead and type those in. And if not, or if you think of something later, go ahead and go to that askcpmt@cpmt.com, but I'll mention that again at the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump in. So some of the top things to consider before I would jump into a line boring business, and number one, I would say is there enough business? Is there enough business around me, or is there in general enough business that would constitute me getting into the line boring business? And I would say absolutely yes. There's all indications that there's going to be a really strong demand throughout the country and for the foreseeable future. They're just not making a lot of guys like us anymore, right? The guys that are hands-on, that can go out there and think and repair things. So there's a lot of demand for it, and it's across industries. It's not just one industry over another. I mean, the first thing that I would be looking towards is the mining, construction, infrastructure, bridges, locks, power gen, ship repair, oil and gas. All the different sectors have. It's not just the sector itself, but it's that application, right? It's that pivot joint that we're going to be talking about, really. When we're talking about a line boring business, we're talking about anything that articulates. So shovels, excavators, conveyors, crushers, scrapers, front end loaders, anything that articulates, that has an articulating joint, is going to eventually wear out. And so across industry, there's going to be a wide variety of options for a line boring business. So that's a great start. So then the next thing I'm going to want to investigate and ask myself is, what are the most common sizes that I'm going to see? What are the things that are going to affect my business? And really, this is really important. I'm not going to go buy a BB-8 if all the work around me is, buckets, right? I mean, I'm going to want to pick a machine that is, the 80-20 rule. 80% of the work around me I can cover with this machine. So, I'll just go through some of the sizes. Now, we have a full line boring, series of line boring equipment. The smaller machines are traveling bar, like the BB5 I have in front of me here, where the drive rotates the bar, the feed pushes the bar or pulls it one way or the other, and the bar slides through the bearings with a tool attached to it. When you get into the bigger bars, the bar is fixed and rotates, and then the tool carrier can travel between the bearings that you have set up. So let's just kind of make a dividing line there between the traveling bars and the fixed bars. So BB3 is our smallest of our traveling bar. It's an 1.25 inch bar that has a range of about 5 inches. So that's a perfect starter kit, right, for somebody that is just getting into the line boring and they're going to try it out. That BB3 is that small bar. BB45 is a little bigger. It goes up to 10 inches. BB5, with the one I have here, it goes up to 24 inches. And they all will carry a 1.25 inch bar, but the 45 will go up to 1.75 inches, and the 5 will go up to 2.25 inches. So you have variety there, or different options. And we'll talk about options a little bit later. And then the BB61 is, you know, the first of the fixed bars, and it goes from about 8.8 up to 40. So it's got a big range, but it starts at a much bigger diameter. So, you know, when you're talking about shovels or track loaders or bigger diameters, bigger bores, or even big coal buckets, BB6 is great for that. But you know, you have to assess that range, that 80% of the work around me is going to be in this one range or another. So, okay, next question is, do I rent or do I buy to get started? Well, renting is a great option to see if it's the type of work that you want to get into. But kind of once you pull the trigger and decide, yeah, I am going to start a line boring business, renting products and accessories, that's based on availability. So, I mean, you may be able to get one tomorrow, but you may not be able to get one tomorrow. So, in my opinion, if I'm going to get into this business, I'm probably going to want to buy the machine that I'm going to be using on a daily basis, and then I'll rent for those jobs that are maybe a little outside of my core side, or if I want to expand my business. And say, you know, 90% of what I do is buckets, but once in a while I get a big stick or a big loader that that goes up to like a 10-inch bore or even an 8-inch bore. So then I want to rent a machine to kind of ease my way into expanding more than just you know, my day by day. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, number 4 here is, with so many brands out there, how should I make my buying decision? Okay, well, great. You're coming to Climax, so you're at the right spot here. I would look closely at the facts. Who offers the best support, right? Who's going to support me after the sale? Who was here yesterday and who's going to be there tomorrow? All right, I don't want a company that, you know, if I want to get something from Harbor Freight, I can go down the street and get a Harbor Freight and kludge it together. Okay, but that's not, if I'm gonna be, you know, serious about my business, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for a product that's designed to save me time. Time's money. I want the accessories. I want everything that is professionally. It's a real machine, right? I'd look at I personally would look at buying the best available equipment out there to ensure the highest possible quality of my result of my business, right? I mean, I'm judged on my professionalism and my ability to cover a wide variety of jobs. So, you know, your customer is going to recognize that level of commitment. You know, if you come in there with a home-built machine, they're going to look at you and say, you know, are you really serious about this? But if you come in with a blue machine and they say, whoa, I recognize that's the best. So, you know, I guess you're committed, right? So for me, there really is only one option, and that's Climax. Okay, number 5. If I'm going to buy a kit, you know, what accessories should I look to outfit my business? That's an excellent question. I mean, that's really that's really where the rubber meets the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a small video here. That's a great video. It's been around a while. You might even seen part of it in our intro or the end of our videos here. And so it kind of lays out what all the options are. It's only a few minutes, but it goes through a setup of the machine and it shows you some of the options. And it's a great starting point for a conversation between you and your local area sales manager to help you decide what things you might need for your business. So let's go ahead and play that video right now.
The Climax BB5000 Portable Boring Machine. Everything you need to assemble the machine comes right in the box. Slide the bar through the holes to be bored and roughly center it with the setup cones. The setup cones are forced into the bore with the clamp ring jacking screw and locked onto the bar. Slide on the spherical bearing mounts with the tack weld plates and tack weld them to the workpiece. Patented spherical bearing mounts can be mounted up to 5 degrees out of perpendicular alignment. The spherical bearing mounts are available in single arm, double arm, universal, and ID mount styles. Remove the setup cones and replace the bar. The setup cones will adequately center the bar for most applications. If finer tolerances are required, use a dial indicator for more precise alignment. Make final centering adjustments with the jacking screws. Slide the rotational drive onto the bar. Firmly push it onto the spherical mount and lock it in place. Install the axial feed assembly onto the bar. Tighten the 2 clamping collars to lock the axial feed unit onto the bar. Tighten the rear clamping collar enough to be snug, but still allow the bar to slide through it. The axial feed unit can be mounted anywhere along the bar or even separate from the RDU using a tack weld block. Tool bits are available in high-speed steel or carbide. Place a cutting tool in the tooling hole or use a tool head for larger bores. The BB5000 has a boring range of 2.5 to 24 inches. Manually crank the axial feed unit to move your tool into position. Use a dial indicator or bore measuring tool to adjust the depth of cut. Lock in place with a set screw. The BB5000 is available in electric, servo-electric, hydraulic, or pneumatic motor configurations. Switching to a different motor option is quick and easy with a 2-bolt change-out process. Connect your power source. Engage the axial feed unit in the direction you want to feed, forward or reverse. This can be done safely while the machine is running. As the machine begins cutting, adjust the feed rate as needed. Feed rates are infinitely variable from 0 to 0.018 inches per revolution. The BB5000 is capable of producing over 650 foot-pounds of torque at the bar. The depth of cut depends on rigidity of setup, type of tooling, and material. Placing your bearings closer together will improve rigidity and machining performance. With an optional small bore kit, you can bore as small as 1.375 inches in diameter. Climax offers 3 different types of facing heads. The facing and grooving head has the added feature of cutting O-ring grooves while allowing varying feed rates without having to stop the facing head rotation. The adjustable range facing head allows facing in either direction, especially in small places or limited swing clearance. The heavy-duty facing head is perfect for the larger jobs, with a much higher metal removal rate and a larger facing diameter. For a quick and easy way to measure the bore diameter and tool height without removing the bar, Climax offers a bore measuring tool, which can measure the tool height and bore diameter up to 24 inches, and a digital bore measuring caliper that can measure a diameter up to 24 inches. By adding a right angle base and a Morse taper bar, drilling is fast and easy. Quickly switch from boring to welding using the interface kit. You can even be line boring one bore while welding up the other. The Climax BB5000 portable boring machine goes to work where you go to work to get your equipment back up and running fast.
Okay, well, yeah, hopefully this sparks some good questions that you can ask your area sales manager about. I mean, not having that interaction with you live right now, it's tough for me to know, what your industry is or where your main use is going to be. So, just in general, the BB5 is our #1 seller, hands down. Most professionals out there are using the BB5 in one configuration or another. I mean, a pretty standard setup is 2 single arm bearings, 2 universal bearings, 6-foot bar, DC electric, 120 volt drive, just because they can run it off a generator in the back of a pickup. And then the axial feed, mechanical axial feed. So that's kind of the bread and butter. But beyond that, I would want to have a good variety of cutting tools. Personally, I would want to have a good complement of measuring tools. Bore measuring tool or bore measuring caliper, indicators, mag base. I would want to have the basic things that I would need in a machine shop as a line boring type equipment. So yeah, again, this is really meant to prompt you asking questions of us. And if you think of something later, by all means, go ahead and send us those questions. So let's go ahead and move on here. So number 6 here, do I also need to think about welding as a part of my line boring business? Absolutely. Anybody that is boring the hole over, you're going to have to get that hole back smaller again somehow. Either you're going to put a sleeve in it or you're going to weld it. So welding and line boring really go hand in glove. If you have one, you're going to want the other. Now, people say, well, I can just hand weld. You can, but you're never going to get the efficiency from hand welding that you can get out of an automatic bore welder. You just can't weld consistently enough by hand, and majority of the time when you're welding a bore by hand, you're welding axially. So as that material is being cut out, it's just hammering. Whereas with an automatic bore welder, it's a spiral weld. You just have a much better quality of a weld. So in my opinion, a good line boring business, one of the main tools along with your boring equipment is a welder. So the next question then would be, well, what kind of welder would I want, and what accessories would I want? Another question that is really specific towards you. The basic welder to just get started is the BW1. Great machine. It's a spiral welder that just welds. It doesn't have any bells and whistles. You put it in the bore, really simple operation, basic functions, and you go to town. It's a MIG welder. The next step up really is the BW3. That's what most people that are out in the industry have, just because you can do everything with it. You can skip over weld, you can fill in an out of round area with it. You can use a facing attachment so that you can not only weld a bore, but then you can weld a face, you know, for a distance fit, right? If you want to build up like an end of a face, you can weld pins with it. You know, the OD of a pin with different attachments. You can weld angular cones. There's a huge variety. The BW3 really is far and above anything out there, and that is the one you'll see with most professionals that have a line boring business. You'll see that BW3 along with a BB5. Okay, so the last question here is, do I have enough experience to get started on my own? Great. I mean, that's really the main question, right? And that's a question that only you can answer. But what we can offer is training from the factory. Climax, like I mentioned early on, one of the main questions when I pick a company, I want somebody that is going to be there yesterday, that's going to be there today, and is going to be there tomorrow, right? That's going to be there to support me. And we're here for you. We've been training for 20 plus years customers and getting them up to speed on how do I align, how do I indicate, how do I keep everything the way it should be, you know, how do I set my speeds, my feeds, my tools, the type of tools, my cutting depths, you know, all the things that you really need to know, soup to nuts, of how to set one up, how to do the alignment, how to completely get this machine ready to go. And so yeah, if you answer that question, boy, I really, there's some things I need to know, then yeah, by all means contact your area sales manager, set up a training. Even if you don't have a machine yet, set it up with a rental, and we'd be happy to train you. I've had customers come in prior to renting a machine, get trained, and then that way when they go out and do the first job with that rental machine, they're productive right off the bat. So I can't recommend high enough that training really is it's kind of a must to really get started on the right foot. Okay, well, that's all the questions that we have at this time for this subject. But again, if you have any more questions, by all means, go ahead and go to askcpmt@cpmt.com. Put those questions in, send them in, and somebody will definitely get back to you on that. And so I really appreciate your time today, and best of luck to you, and have a great day.